What's up? This is Ben with WODprep, and this video is all about helping you get your best score on CrossFit Games Open Workout 17.4. So 17.4 is just like 16.4, but I have a couple new and refreshed tips in this video that's gonna help you as opposed to last year's 16.4 video. Really quick, just note that I am not affiliated with CrossFit HQ in any way, shape, or form. So know that these are WODprep's opinions. And if you want the complete standards and if you need to know exactly how this workout is supposed to go, make sure you go to games.crossfit.com, but I'm not associated with them in any way. Also, please go to wodprep.com/open if you want the complete strategy guide with some mindset tips, a complete mobility guide, and strategy to make sure that you get the best score possible in this workout. I go even deeper than this video can. All right, so I'm gonna use a lot of the videos and a lot of the tips that I used last year, and I'm gonna pop back in here in 2017 and offer a couple more suggestions. First things first, make sure you look right here. This is the workout. Go to games.crossfit.com to double check and make sure you know what weights you're supposed to use and what the exact standards are for setting up this workout. Specifically pay attention to the handstand push-up, the way that you measure with your arms and where your feet need to be, all that good stuff. And also, if you're in the scale division, be sure that you know what the standards are for those hand release push-ups. First, we're gonna talk about the overall theme of this workout, and that is slow and steady wins the race. This workout is all about making sure that you pace in a way that allows you to finish strong. If you blow yourself up in the beginning of this workout, like almost everyone is gonna wanna come out of the gates just crushing those deadlifts. If you can control your breathing, you can force yourself to break up your sets a little bit earlier than expected, it's gonna pay huge dividends later in the workout. So let's dig into the deadlifts. For these deadlifts, it's 55 reps. If you're in the RX division, it's a pretty heavy weight for most people. If this weight is really light for you, I still caution you to not come out of the gate super fast. I would highly recommend breaking up your reps into something like 15, 10, 8, 7, and then 3 sets of 5. That's what I'm kind of planning. When I first look at this workout, I thought, oh, I can break it into sets of 10 or even bigger than that. So my first tip is to make sure that you pace your deadlifts. Find a specific rep scheme that you plan, that you calculate in your head, and stick with it during the workout. Make sure that you focus on hitting your sets, drop the bar, stand up at the top and drop from the top. I checked the rules, that's 100% legal. Once you do that, take a few nice deep breaths and then back on the bar. When we talk about the grip for the deadlift, I really like to have a staggered grip as opposed to an overhead grip. So staggered grip just means one hand is under, one hand is over. It doesn't matter which side, just that staggered grip is really gonna help not fatigue your arms and your grip because you'll use those on the row and in the handstand push-ups. One thing to note is that if this deadlift is heavy for you, guys, girls, it doesn't matter. If this deadlift is heavy for you, I really want you to think about breaking it into small sets. So sets of 3, sets of 2, even singles. If you watch this video right here, you'll see singles actually aren't too bad as long as you focus on standing all the way up and dropping from the top, making sure that your body and back is set and braced for every single rep. Another thing I'll say about the deadlifts is make sure that you wear a belt. So even though the deadlift might not be crazy heavy for most people, if you wear a belt, it's gonna help you fatigue less in your core, and you will definitely be using your core when it comes time to hit those handstand push-ups. That core is really gonna help keep you stable. It's gonna help you lock out better. So if you can protect your core and fatigue your core less on the deadlifts, you'll set yourself up better later on in the workout. One thing to note is it's really important to figure out whether you're gonna go RX'd or scaled, and it is a very different workout either way. Obviously, the deadlift weight is the main consideration here. If the deadlift, if 225 pounds for the guys or 155 pounds for the ladies, if that is just heavy for you, then I recommend going scaled. As a general rule, I like to tell people if your 1 rep max for the guys is above 300 and for the girls is 200 or above, then you're perfectly fine doing this workout RX. If your deadlift 1 rep max is any lower than 300, 200, then you're really gonna be stressing out your lower back, and this workout is gonna be so taxing for you that I personally would recommend going scaled. But again, it's totally up to you. If you wanna get a few RX reps, then go for it.
So moving on to the wall balls, it's gonna be pretty nasty because coming off of the deadlifts, your legs are gonna be pretty fatigued, so you're gonna wanna use a lot of your arms. However, if you smoke your arms, it's really gonna suck on those handstand push-ups. So the wall balls are kind of like a really tricky movement here. I want you to focus on hitting big sets, really focus, make your reps quality, knock out a couple big sets to start, and then slowly but surely, you are gonna get through these wall balls and move on to the next. Just think about it, it's only 55 wall balls, and then for 99% of the people in the world, you will be done with that movement. Like 25, 15, 15, or 20, 15, 12, 8, something like that. Something with descending sets is going to allow you to just chip through these wall balls. Just remember, every time you shoot it, make sure you do the clearing stroke. So that just means I throw the ball up, and instead of leaving my arms up like this where they get really fatigued, every single time you throw it, just let those arms relax and bring them back down to a position where you can catch the ball. So if you do that clearing stroke, it's going to help save those shoulders and arms for the handstand push-ups later on in the workout. Moving on to the row, there's not too much to say here other than make sure you pay attention to your transitions. When you get done the wall balls, it's gonna be really easy to take 10 or 15 seconds before you actually sit down and start pulling on the rower. And those are some pretty crucial seconds. It's better just to get the thing moving. So as soon as you're done with those wall balls, drop the ball, walk straight over to the rower, strap your feet in and start pulling. If you can get to the rower and start pulling, you're gonna start seeing those calories count and you're gonna be closer and closer to getting through. Once you get to a tempo that kind of hurts, try to maintain it. Keep that calorie per hour count pretty high and get through it. You are gonna set yourself up for more time on these handstand push-ups, which I think is gonna be one of the biggest keys to this workout. And when you are finally done with the row, get your feet out. Really easy. All you have to do is unstrap, lift your toes, pull your heels out. It's really simple. Don't make that take any longer than 10 seconds. Get out of the rower, get to that wall, take a couple breaths, and start going. Okay, moving on to the handstand push-ups. This is where things get really interesting because there's a few things we need to worry about with these handstand push-ups. Number one is no reps. No reps are gonna run absolutely rampant for this movement because there's a lot of ways that you can get no rep. The way you can prevent yourself from getting no rep is one, thinking heels up, and two, thinking butt tight. So heels up. You'll see a lot of times if I let my heels relax when I go above, and you can see my feet here, when I relax my feet, when I relax my toes, when I relax my heel actually has a tendency to sink and not get above the line. So that's a major problem. If you're not actively thinking about driving your heels up the wall, the heels up cue that I like to give, if you're not actively driving your heels up the wall, then you stand a huge risk to get no rep. You might be all the way locked out, all the way up the wall, everything will be fine. The only thing that you forget to do is just a little bit of dorsiflexion, then guess what? You're gonna get a no rep. So remember, heels up, that's gonna help get that heel above the line and you'll get the rep. Number two is making sure that your butt stays tight. So if I don't keep my butt tight, what actually happens is my hip sinks into the wall and it shortens my length. So think about it, if I draw a straight line, it's gonna be a little bit longer than if I took that same line and I folded it. So if your glutes are loose, if your butt's not staying really tight, what happens is you don't get as much elevation on your legs because you're bent in your core, you're bent in the hips. So in order to not bend at the hips, you have to make sure when you lock out, you squeeze your butt as tight as you can. Almost think about driving your hips forward. And if you drive your hips forward, that's gonna keep you in that nice straight line. It's gonna help elevate those hips even higher. A couple other notes for the handstand push-ups. Make sure that you push your head through at the top. A handstand push-up is a lot like a push press. So if I'm doing a push press and I look up at the ceiling, or a handstand push-up, if I'm looking at the floor, it puts my neck in a really bad position and it actually doesn't make my upper body as strong. When I press, you probably notice when you're doing push presses or strict presses or any press overhead, if you push your head through at the top, you're a lot stronger. It almost feels like your body was built to have your head in that neutral position. It was. So when you're doing handstand push-ups, you have to make sure the same thing applies. As you press, push your head through your shoulders, and that's gonna help you get that full arm lockout. It'll help you get up the wall and you'll get the rep. So one last thing to say about the handstand push-ups is to make sure that your heel isn't sticking against the wall. This could mean just making sure that the wall that you're doing these handstand push-ups on is nice and smooth, it's nice and slick, or making sure that you wear shoes that don't have a really sticky heel. If that heel is made of really grippy rubber, then what might actually happen is your heel, as you're pushing yourself up the wall, your heel might get stuck and you might not be able to get the heel above the line because it's kind of skidding along the wall. For the handstand push-ups, there's a few things you need to know. So the standards say that you need to touch your toes to the wall, feet need to be hip width apart, and then you lock out your arms overhead with thumbs together. Now, as everyone found out last year that did this, there's a big difference between extending your arms as much as you humanly can or keeping your shoulders down. Okay, so both of these, my elbows is completely locked out, and there is a several inch difference between where that line mark goes. You're still reaching above, you're still locking out your elbows all the way, your thumbs are still touching, so you meet all of the standards and requirements. You're just not overdoing it. Okay, so pinch your shoulder blades down. It's like you had heavy weight overhead. You're not gonna have your shoulders up like this. Shoulders are gonna be sunk down. The same thing goes when we're doing this handstand push-up measurement. Don't overextend, keep your shoulder blades down, and still meet all the other standards. Another thing to note about the handstand push-ups is this year they introduced the hand box. So 36 by 24 inches or something like that. It really doesn't affect too many things, because what I found is that if your hands go any wider than that hand box, chances are your heels would never reach high enough in the first place. So what I recommend is, within the standards, in practice, play around with the width of your hands. So if you go all the way to the edges, can you still reach your heels high enough? If you have your hands in narrower, can you still have the mobility to get all the way up and heels above that line? Play around with it, but it's not too much of an issue here. When I practice, there's really no change. For the scale division, make sure that you're not snaking or rolling or doing anything funky for these hand release push-ups. Obviously, there are going to be a lot of misconceptions and a lot of discrepancies when it comes to judging. Just try to hold yourself to a higher standard. Keep that core tight. Make sure that you keep your body in one straight line. Go to the bottom, release your hands, and then lock it out. The one thing I will say is, when it comes time to resting, do not rest at the top. Don't rest in your front lean and rest position. Go to the bottom, release your hands, rest there, and then when you want to come back up, complete the pull-up. So I highly recommend resting at the bottom of your push-up as opposed to resting at the top. It's going to help fatigue your arms less. You won't have to be supporting any sort of weight. If you are doing the Masters division, so Masters RX, they have some push presses, or if your division, whichever one it is, has push presses, one thing I want you to think about is making sure you keep your weight in your heels, you keep your torso vertical, and you use your legs to explode the weight overhead. So we don't want a strict press. That's gonna be way less efficient, and your shoulders are gonna be smoked from those wall balls. So make sure you dip and drive with the legs to lock out overhead. And then probably the most important thing is touch and go these reps. The last thing you wanna do is this, where you push the weight up, you bring it down, and then you reset in between each rep. That's not efficient. It's way, way slower. Get through these reps efficiently and do a touch and go with the barbell. Just make sure you keep your torso in a good position. So I really hope that you liked this video. I hope you liked the beard from last year. It's gone right now. Let me know in the comments which one you like better. Most importantly, go to WODprep.com/open to get the complete strategy guide to go along with 17.4, including a couple extra sweet bonuses that I think you're gonna like. Leave a comment below. One, let me know if you like the beard or if you like it a little shaven like this. And also let me know if you have any questions or what you feel about this workout. I'm really interested to hear your opinion, so please comment below. Thumbs up if you liked the video, thumbs down if you didn't. And last but not least, click the subscribe button so that you don't miss any more WODprep videos. We're winding down with the open here, but there is a lot more coming in 2017 from WODprep, and I'm so happy to have you along for the ride. Peace.